Hello, it's Douglas here again. Welcome back to the channel. And the reason that this one is particularly relevant to retirees is that the car in this story will only be recognisable to us oldies. Everybody else will have to look it up. Because today I'm going to tell you about one of my trips driving abroad. In fact, it's the first one. And my wife and I did it in our old Ford 100E Prefect. I can't remember exactly what year we did this, but it was roughly 1970, I think. The car though was from 1957. I can't even remember where or who I bought it from now, but it did need a bit of work almost immediately. Basically, I had an engine out overhaul to do. New radiator, new clutch to install, and an exchange starter, motor, and overhaul the dynamo. Yeah, it was a dynamo. We didn't have alternators in those days. So it was out with the engine, out with the pistons, crankshaft, valves, new main, conrod bearings, new piston rings, regrind the valve seats, send the cylinder block off for a rebore, and the crankshaft for a regrind. New bearings made to fit. I made the mistake due to time pressure of not having the cylinder head skimmed at the same time. I'll come back to that at a later date. I'll skip most of the technical stuff here. Most of you won't want to know about collets and cylinder honing and carbon brushes anyway. So, after I got the whole thing back together, I had to reinstall it in the car. I did that one Saturday morning. It had to be done that weekend because we were actually driving from London to Scotland in that car the following weekend. The engine installation went okay, helped by a bit of swearing, and the trip to Scotland was fine too, although pretty slow. The top speed of a Ford 100E Prefect is about 70 miles an hour flat out, and it takes a long time, seems like ages, to get up to that top speed as well. And the bit of Scotland we were going to is about 450 miles from here being London at the time. I'll skip the Scotland trip for now because after all this is about the trip to France a few weeks later in July of that year. I'd never actually been to France before or driven anywhere other than in the UK, so everything was unfamiliar. Even getting the car ferry across from Dover to Calais. That bit was easy though and uneventful. Because we were poor, without much money, we decided the only way we could do this trip was by camping, and we bought a small tent and borrowed another, one for us to sleep in and one for our stuff when it wasn't in the car. Our destination, of course, was the south of France, the Mediterranean coast. That's a drive of about 750 miles each way, maybe 800. We had a couple of weeks to get there and back, and I can't remember how much our budget was. We took a lot of food with us. Our budget was around about £100 or less, all in I think. We got off the ferry in late afternoon, so our first job was to find a campsite for the first night. We had a couple of days food with us, a gas camping stove, other stuff we thought we'd need, sleeping bags and so on. So off we go on the wrong side of the road, heading down the west coast for about 20 miles, and then we came across this village, decided it would do, found a campsite, pitched our tents, and then decided to head for the local beach. It was about 7 in the evening by now. Lovely summer evening, warm, dry, typical July weather. We drove onto the beach and almost immediately got stuck in the sand. Surprise, surprise. No amount of wheel spinning was helping. I tried rocking the car quickly between first gear and reverse without success, and worse still, while doing this the engine cut out and wouldn't restart. Of course we dug our rear wheels deeper into the beach and the tide looked like it was starting to come in. There was nobody around, the beach was deserted. Cars were simple in those days. I had a look under the bonnet, found a broken low tension wire. I won't bore you with the detail, but without this the car won't go. I'd brought tools with me. Diving under the dashboard I found a wire with plenty of slack in it, cut a piece off, rejoined the parts of that wire so everything continued to work. Using the cut off piece I made a new low tension lead using the ends of the broken one, fitted it, the car started. technical detail here. Low tension leads are made to a specific electrical resistance. I'd chosen the wire under the dash to cannibalise just on estimated thickness. A good guess as it turned out. It wasn't a specification, but it worked. I never did replace it with the correct one, and it was still there and working well when I sold the car about 18 months later. Anyway, once the car started, we still had a stuck in the sand problem. And I thought if I could find something to put under the wheels, I'd be able to drive out of the hole that I'd dug myself into. Wandering around the beach, I found this old rusty piece of diamond metal mesh, about 10 feet by 6. It was really heavy, but I dragged it back to the car, wedged it under the wheels, and struggled out of the sand. We got back to the campsite. Glad we had some food with us, so we didn't have to scour around to find somewhere to eat. And that was how we spent our first evening in France. Next day we set off pretty early, stopping to buy croissants for breakfast on the way. In case you don't know, boulangeries, bakeries that is, they're in every French village that you come across. Everyone seems to have one. They make their own croissants in French bread, fresh, every day, and it's really good. We decided to stick to the main roads as opposed to the motorways all the way to the south. Motorways in France are usually toll roads. We didn't have the money for the additional expense. Come to that, we didn't have a car with good enough performance to make it worthwhile anyway. And we found sticking to the main roads does have the benefit of allowing you to see more of the country as well. And you go through all sorts of small towns and villages as you go. So it's slow, but much more interesting than the motorway. You get a much wider choice of campsites as well. Meet more people, have a wider variety of food. Asking locals is the best way to find good cheap places to eat. One feature of rural French villages is the auberge restaurant. The auberge restaurant. You'll not see these advertised, even though in some places you have to book in advance. They have no signs outside. Once again, you have to ask the locals, and they don't always want to tell you. These auberges only serve one fixed meal at lunchtime. That's all they do all day. They use only local seasonal produce, often from the farm on whose land they are. You don't know what you're going to get unless you go inside, but it's always really good, and it's always very reasonably priced. We didn't know anything about these until we were on our way back, and only managed to eat at one of them. Rabbit stew with local vegetables was the day's dish. Delicious, something like 3 francs each, unbelievable. And that's equivalent to about £6 today for both of us. Incredible. Further down into France, on a mountain road near Montélimar, the car exhausts very noisily parted company with the engine, and it was getting dark and we were in the middle of nowhere. Luckily I soon found out what was wrong, but the exhaust was too hot to fix right then and there. It took about an hour to cool down enough for me to reconnect it to the engine. Even then I ended up with a couple of burns on my hands because just sheer impatience really. I mentioned earlier that I had some tools with me, and for a second time I was quite glad I had them. Shows you how much I trusted the car, doesn't it, that I took a lot of tools. Fortunately, we came across a campsite only about half an hour later, and there we settled for the night. We were woken up early next morning by the sound of donkeys kicking up a fuss in the field next door. The donkeys had not been apparent the night before in the dark. Anyway, we've stayed at this campsite a couple of more times since then, when we've been back in France, and they still have donkeys next door. There's quite a bit more to tell you about this trip, but I don't want to make this video too long, so I'll save some till a future time. Making the most of this trip. More videos. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you next time. So please like and subscribe and share if you feel able. And it really can help the channel. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye for now.